Jesus, you're all that I want. I am resting here in your arms. Everything I'll ever need is in your presence. Your love is all that I need, and I found it there in your heart. Isn't too hard to see, it's nothing better. It isn't too hard to see. It's nothing better. It's nothing better.
Welcome to another episode of Journey to Service. I'm William Laddick, and once again this week, we're a solo act. Randall Kaiser and William Laddick doing it on their own today. And welcome back, Randall. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good, William. It's such a beautiful time. I mean, God, nobody can deny that we've seen an ascension in the last month that we haven't seen in years, like seriously. And do we take credit for it in Canada? Fine. Like this truck convoy and what's been going on, the expansion, why not? I mean, why not take a little bit of credit? Why not receive for once? And that's what we're going to talk about on today's show.
Receiving is the theme. Very good. It's a funny thing. Where this came from in my head, just as you were talking just now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, but I think the Winter Olympics are on somewhere, like in China or something. And it's the furthest. I've never been so disassociated from a sporting event like this one. And it reminded me that with the Olympics, usually it's all about union and togetherness. And even though people are competing and representing their countries, there's something magical very often about it, at least in the energy that I feel around it. And so when you talk about the truckers, when you were talking about that, whether Canada takes the credit, that doesn't really matter. It's a human thing. It's humanity. It's done for mankind is how I feel about it. And so I just got that from what you were saying. And just before we started, we were talking about, it being a very interesting time, a very challenging time. You were saying in your video yesterday, and this is, I think, where we'll go next, is that you were feeling a little emotional yesterday, and you didn't get into that as to why so much. And then, and I shared with you too that I'm feeling a little emotional as well, or was yesterday, and probably a little bit different. And you had some interesting things to say about that. So I thought I better check back with you and let's see if we can expand on that subject a little bit. We're kind of working together and feeling the same kinds of things around the same time. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, you betcha, William. I mean, words are so important, and you said there, like, why the emotions were coming up. Okay, so there's a word that's got two meanings that just popped in as soon as you said that. And that word is pride, okay? So is it hard to be proud? Yes, sometimes it is, like it's kind of like you'd rather be, show your humility or show your love and just your stand in your ground rather than be proud, right? But then pride has another meaning where you're too proud to ask, you're too proud to expose your, underbelly. You know what I mean? Like it's such a strange time that we're in right now. And it, the Truckers Rally is a perfect example of that, where as Canadians, we should be proud. But nobody's really doing that. There's other people in other parts of the country, and maybe there are some, don't get me wrong, that are saying, I feel it coming more from other parts of the world where people are saying, you Canadians, you're great, all that kind of stuff, But I'm not hearing a lot of that from the Canadians themselves. They're just thinking in terms of, we got a fucking job to do here, and we're going to do it, and we're going to stand our ground. And it's not just for us, it is for the world, because obviously this one world government process that has mandated people, put them into more fear, tried to control the minds of the masses even further than they've done for how many years, have failed. And it's because the living man and woman on the land have stood up. And if we're not proud of that, then, what are we? Just shy, modest, continually just giving rather than saying, look, we did something here. We've got this. And, I'm not just talking about the trucking rally or the truckers and the convoy, but we're going to bring this up as far as the effort that you have put in, William, and that I have put in, and that I'm too proud to ask for sometimes, because I've done this for 2 fucking years with this COVID thing, never wore a bloody diaper on my face, never caved into any of the mandates, found every humorous, joking, kind way possible. Now, in this last week, completely taking the route of pity, which I've deleted all my past videos even because of that, because I don't want to look like that blamer, that shamer, that guilter, okay, of what happened. Okay, we want to move on with compassion, not compassion. There's that word again that I don't really like, because passion is either intense desire or suffering, and that can be flipped either direction and take on the same meaning. So heartfelt desire, okay? Not extreme desire, but heartfelt desire to help humanity, to get us out of this stupid, ridiculous government process and get it on to governance. Govern meaning to control, but ANC rather than MENT. MENT meaning the mind, ANC meaning the state of being, the inner, the oneness, okay? So governing the oneness. Sovereignty is the word I often use. So hopefully that kind of answered a little bit what you're talking about, but it is, it is such a time to be finally in that receiving position, to finally be able to receive the fact that Jesus Christ, Canberra in Australia blew us out of the water as far as numbers in Ottawa compared to the numbers that are in Canberra or Canberra, I can't remember how you say it, but yet they were giving credit to Canada for initiating the convoy and getting things started. The Americans are saying the same thing. Thank you, Canada. And now their convoy is it's gonna be bigger. I guarantee you, they're gonna have a new Guinness World Record, because the Americans are a pretty competitive lot. And they're gonna have a bigger convoy than Canada. You watch. And hopefully they're surrounding that stupid bowl that's going on today. You spoke of sporting events, and in the bread and circus show that's going on in the US today, I hope like hell, I haven't heard anything, but I hope like hell they're surrounding that with convoy of trucks, and at the very least disrupting the minds of those indoctrinated people who are going there thinking that they're watching a fair and equitable football game when it's all just a big bread and circus show. So there's a little start for you.
Woo-wee. Lots of juice there. Yeah, I a couple of things I can definitely add to what you were saying. The Super Bowl, I know that the Janine, Tarot by Janine and Sending Ravens, she mentioned or did a reading around the Super Bowl, and as well as the truckers, actually several around the truckers. But one of the things I remembered that she said was that they are going to do something like that in the US, according to the cards anyways, that she was reading. And that that they were going to do it a little bit differently though, because they have so many more cities, larger cities. It's not going to be like everyone just driving up and parking, in Washington city, in Washington, DC, because, well, frankly, there's a question about whether there's anybody there anyways. But, she said it's going to be more of a spread out kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I hadn't heard about the Canberra situation except when you mentioned it. So that was news to me, but it's great. And yeah, it seems like every video I've was watching for the last couple of weeks have all been, giving kudos to the Canadians for the truckers convoy. So that's awesome. I was going through something yesterday, and I'm going to share a little story here too, and then that'll hopefully lead us into what we're going to talk about next. But I was experiencing a challenge, and have been experiencing a challenge with the volleyball league that I run in Vancouver, and it has been the most challenging thing I've ever done, over the 15-year history of this league, because there's no, there was a certain rhythm and a certain system and lots of pre-planning, and you created things, and I was able to just kind of fit things in. But this year, because of everything being up in the air, and I'm making some assumptions that I shouldn't have made, and then making mistakes, and then having to do things detail, step by step by step, team by team by team, and player by player by player. Before you know it, I'm dealing with hundreds of people, and it's hard to do as one person. So it makes it much more challenging. And yesterday I was feeling really down. I was feeling really defeated, and my mind was obsessing about, I was worried. I was just worried. And I noticed that I was, my observer was watching me worry. And I'm saying, why am I worrying? Worrying doesn't help anything. It just perpetuates it more and more and more. And I just kept seeing my mind circling and circling and circling and circling and trying to figure out. And I also know that stifling emotions doesn't work either. Like, if you're feeling sad, you don't say, okay, I shouldn't feel sad, and then, stuff it down. If you feel sad, let yourself feel sad. And so I just let myself be in that state yesterday. And as much as I didn't like it, I did the best I could to be good to myself. And just, I went out for a beautiful walk. It was a beautiful day here in Vancouver. It's another beautiful day here too. And it was just, it was lovely, but I noticed that I couldn't fully enjoy the nature because I was so busy in my head going round and round and round. Last night, as you know, I love to watch different videos, and Lori Ladd is one of the people I like to follow and watch. And she had a 1-minute video. She's been doing a lot of little short snippet videos. And this one was called Joan of Arc. And within the first 10 seconds of the video, and I haven't shared it with you yet, Randall, but I shared it with Lee, just something for him to enjoy in his contemplative state. But she basically said she got this channeled message, whether it was from Joan of Arc or whatever, but it was about really being fully 1000% unapologetically you. And that to me changed everything. It's like I noticed that I was afraid to be vulnerable and open completely with the people in my league, because I was afraid that if I showed them all the negative, or what I perceive as negative, like, owing a lot of money and not giving refunds in full and all those kinds of things, it left people feeling suspicious, and there was something not right. And for me, it was more of a fear of losing the business and going broke, and the image around it all. And then when Lori said that, be unapologetically you, it kind of lifted something from me. And I just said to myself, you know what? I need to be completely open and honest, and let the chips fall where they may. If my league, falls because people are no longer confident in the way that the league is managed, then I will just learn from that, and I will need to accept that. If I have to feel sadness around it, I will. It's like just that kind of thing. But there was everything was okay at that point. It was sort of like, okay, I get it. If I'm not hiding myself, if I'm open to everyone, then I have nothing to worry about. I have nothing to hide. And to me, that was a bit of a relief too. Now, as to how I'm going to do it, that still is a task for me ahead. But it's something flipped in that moment, and it really led me to a good place. So I don't know, how does that connect with you? Is there anything there that kind of speaks to you from what I've shared?
Oh, brother, it's so similar. It's just, the stories and the words that I'll explain are going to be different words than volleyball league or, hundreds of people or whatever, but it's the same story. We're all in that same story of dealing with a financial system. And I'll use the word finance because finance still uses the word debt and things like that in it, right? Like it's not funding, it's finance, right? So the finance system, the government legal jurisdiction looniverse system has us all spinning around in there, right? And then what we do is we get to a point, if we struggle, then we think, well, if we change our direction, if we change our focus a little bit or our intention, then maybe we can get it done that way. And in that changing of focus of it and intention, our challenge then is to stay in that benevolent zone or to disrupt or trespass with someone else who's in that zone with us, right? So you're talking about hundreds of people in your volleyball organization. And some of them, if you change the direction, are going to be hurt, and some of them are not. So staying focused on that benevolent, good for all intention challenges us, right? Like you as the director, okay, and me as the director of, I'm going to start to linger into the story of Dynastic Order of St. Marian here now. So as a director, I want to keep the morale up. I want everyone to be happy, right? And in that, the vulnerability I have is not sadness. I don't feel sadness. I did a little bit this week, beyond that pride that brought that emotion. I did have a little bit of sadness yesterday, and that's going to be what I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes. But the idea that I have, my vulnerability is to say, I'm sorry it's not here yet. That to me is, it's just horrible for me to say that to people, knowing that in my heart, we are on the right track. We are part of this great, huge ascension happening that's going on right now. And a big part of it, because we've been working at it for years, okay? Years to allow the abundance that's in the banking system to flow. And this fucking bullshit word limited, corporation, all of that stuff. I'm going to watch myself. I was getting passionate there, but that government, that control, that manipulation and exploitation of the monetary system has infiltrated every one of our lives and caused us to have doubt and caused us to say, like, when is this going to happen? Why have you forsaken me? That kind of language, like, God, it's such a temptation. And for me to drop into saying to the people out there, I just don't know when, that just fucking tears my heart out. I don't want to say that. And I know that we're on the right track. So all I can say is remove the idea of time. Remove the idea of time. It's already happened and we're already in the process. It's happening, all of that stuff. Well, then that doesn't resonate with the minds of people because they want to go back to time. And so do I. I'm tempted to it myself. So I hear exactly your story, William, and we've shared stories like this so many times. Has my life been a series for 5 or 6 years since developing this education of myself into the macro economics of the monetary system cost me, my God, it's just been amazing. And the little things that have happened that just floor me, like to know that government is listening to our phone right now, right? They're listening. And how much they have time for anymore to go after the individuals or whatever and try and knock them down. Let me tell you, April of last year, after collecting the CRB. I don't like using that word that they say exists, but that program that helped supposedly benefited the Canadian citizen, the person, they started that program. Then they cut me off. Boom, last April. Why? And why, after me giving them all of the paperwork that they asked for, am I still on the in queue list? 10 months, okay? Thousands and thousands of dollars that they owe me. And I keep phoning in every week, and I'm so gentle with the people because the people aren't the problem. I say to them, okay, I hear you. She said, well, all I can see is that you're in queue. They're working on it. 10 months. So what have I done? I went to the process of going to be the mayor of Calgary, right? Something to do, something that had some positive impact on humanity, that could help humanity if people would actually listen to what I had to say. Very few people listen. But in the end, how close did we get, William? It was the last week when people came to me and said, you mean you don't have the money for the deposit? I said, no. Well, here you go. And I received and I accepted that money. And it was a little bit to keep me going on top of the deposit for a little while longer. I took some loans. And when I talk loan, it's to do with people. It's not to do with banks, because banks, it's a bullshit story. They don't give you anything. They take, okay? They take your autograph and your agreement, and then they give you an imaginary loan, right? Loan is a gift from God. So when a gift from God comes from one human, one man or woman, to me, I consider that it's a loan, that it's going to be repaid. And I did that again last fall with a lady. It lasted until now, contract and everything, okay? I'm not here to piss around. I'm not here to say, well, thank you very much. I did my work. You needed to pay me. No, I'm doing my work for you. So when I get paid, you're getting paid back as well. That's the way I look at loans from people. And I always have. So that now got to a point where it just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. Last couple of weeks, 2 more people in our group that needed, and I'm talking needed, okay? I'm talking out on the street needed. I gave out of that loan that I have, that I'm responsible for. And I don't expect to get anything back, because I know that these people working with me are fulfilling this macro funding project that is going to help whoever comes along, and not help in terms of when people say to me, oh, you're like Kim Gagowan's group, we're lining up, we'll get our project to you, or, you know, it's like the Dinar and Dong, here's our project, you know, give us the money, that kind of stuff. No, we have our projects. We have all of the macro funding in place. We have all the macro projects in place. When we are ready to release, it's going to be inviting people. What can you contribute to this project? Will you come and live at that project and work with us? That kind of stuff. Not, we're just going to fund projects, you know? That idea was in my realm. I thought, God, there's so much abundance. Once we break this through, we'll be able to just fund projects. It's not the way it's going to work, folks. And I mean, I hate to burst anybody's bubble who thinks it's just going to pop overnight and everything's going to change, because it's not. There's a lot of work to do yet. And thousands, if not millions of years, a banking system that is limiting of the people, okay? And getting more limiting all the time. With that government, that central bank government, and the government of the world filtering down to municipal level, provincial level governments, they're all adhering to the same one world government plan, which is limitation and lack and debt versus abundance. And that's the only word that needs to be said, because there is nothing but abundance. It's just astronomical. And, you know, like I say, I did never want to get to this point of asking our audience out there, like every other group has asked, GPMS has asked, Kim Gagowan has asked, Anna von Reitz has asked, Donald Trump asks. Does he ever not ask? Come on, patriots, step up and give me some money and I'll get this done in the legal jurisdiction. My God. And it just keeps coming. So I'm asking, we have a PayPal click button on our DOSM website. If you want to help with some microfinance today with us to get the two ladies now, okay? Myself, I'm functioning in that world of a few loans, a little bit of pension, a little bit of other benefits, and hearing the promises of my government of Canada that they're going to pay me what they owe me for over a year, hearing that promise. And can I get out and work and collect some cash income? I've done that too. But when it affected two of the ladies that I honor on this earth, honor these two ladies to the point that it did, I'm asking, not just for me, but for them, that people please, if you're not in a desperate situation yourself, if you are getting anything from our videos, from our enthusiasm, from our love, then please just click the button and send a few bucks. I mean, God Almighty, I never wanted to do that. William and I and Danusha wrote that book. We sold a few dozen copies or something. Amazon takes the majority of that income, the little bit that dribbles down to us, because we didn't have any other way to do it. And if we had another way to do it, it would have cost us money ahead of time. I'm not trying to make this sound like it's a desperate plea or a victim perpetrator story, but by God, when you've got a government that controls the minds of the masses and has proven without a shadow of the doubt that that's the only thing they're in this game for, monitoring and influencing and coercing and controlling and manipulating the minds of the masses into this, then there is still a problem. And until that problem goes completely away, those of us working on the macro, on the co-creative aspect of this that will succeed, are challenged on the micro level. And there's lots of us. And most of you that are listening to this are in the same boat. So please don't give. If that's the case, don't even think about it. Just stay on your path and do what you're doing. But if you have any means to assist, I'm asking, finally.
Randall, thank you. I know that took a lot to do that, because that's not something that you're necessarily comfortable in doing. But I can, well, maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about what in the last week that's kind of made you, like, generated these feelings that, you know what, I need to do something here. I realize that I have to ask people for some, financial support. And can you tell us a little bit more about the details of what spurred that on?
Well, it is the one human, I don't want to say who it is at all, but was put on the street. Okay, that's what spurred it. I mean, it's just pathetic that could happen. And this human has so much potential, so much intelligence, knowledge, wisdom, love. I mean, my God. And, the pride again comes into it. And also the effects that it would have on the entire process. Just like what I'm saying, I don't want to ask, because then people are going to doubt. Oh, he's been telling us these stories all this time. Big hat, no cattle, like one guy said to me a year and a half ago already. That was the man who stuck with me for months, years. I helped him out so many times. And he turned and said that to me, and I don't blame him. I mean, the temptation to doubt is always there. So by my asking, are we gonna lose some more of our audience? We might, William, because they're gonna say, oh, here's another one. He's came up and told us this story, and now he's saying he doesn't know when it's gonna end. Well, I know when it's gonna end. It's gonna end when this government mind control that's on your mind as much as it's on mine ends. And I'm not saying it ending in you see, that's the difficult part. And that's where the passion and the compassion comes in. It's not going to be through any suffering, not on the part of those who are standing their ground. If we do that, it's just going to backfire on us. if we blame Trudeau for this and say, you're going to suffer, no, just let him go. Let him be free. He's screwing himself so badly in the last little while, exposing the extreme, utter insanity of the media that he works with. You know, it's just so obvious. Every single day, there's another 1,000, another 10,000, another 100,000, another million people on Earth that wake up and say, holy shit. So they're just burying themselves further and deeper into their own shit every day. Do we have to now kick them while they're down? Do we have to push them into that shit and put our cowboy boot on top of their head? No, let them struggle on their own. It's karma. It's just going to happen. So that's where the love comes back into it. And I know I'm sounding a little bit excited again today, but you know, I am excited about our progress, but I'm just saying, like, you know, those truckers wouldn't have went across America, even though there's been attempts by the government, once again, to block their funds. They know that those same people, if they get them kicked back to them, they'll send it again. They'll find another way to get that fund through. Okay. So those millions of dollars that they have either already moved in, I don't know how much they've cashed out of that, but what is coming because of the promises of those people who will not stop, who will give no matter what. If they have to drive down to Ottawa and hand it to them in cash, they're going to keep giving to those truckers because they believe in what they're doing. That is real, okay? It is real that Kim Gagowan has this huge following because people are giving to her, okay? And I'm not going to judge anybody's story here, whether it's the truckers or Kim Gagowan or Anna von Reitz or GPMS or whoever else who has collected from people to continue their story. That's up to the people that gave to them to discern. That's not up to me. And all of these stories are good towards that one goal of allowing the government story, the one world government story that manipulated the central bank system as much as it manipulated the minds of the masses through the birth certificate and the autograph and agreement and all that stuff. That is where we're going. And that is so beautiful to watch.
I know for me, Randall, I won't say I'm a detailed person, but I think in pictures. I like to think in pictures. And so for me, the dynastic order of St. Miriam has been a little bit of a mystery to me in the sense of, well, as far as what's going on, as far as what you can do. I mean, we know it's about, you know, humanitarian projects as part of it, and a big part of it. And then the funding that comes in to support that and support the individual projects. But what I don't understand and don't follow is some of the details of the financials. And I don't know how much of it you can still talk about, because for a while there we were being, you know, very careful as far as what we could reveal. And more over time, we've been able to talk about more things. At this point, are you able to talk a little bit more about the money side of things? Because here's what I'm wondering is, you announced about a couple of months ago, maybe 3-4 months ago now, that funds had been released. And so there was this thought that there were funds sitting somewhere within almost arm's reach that would eventually funnel down to you. But that funneling down has not happened yet. And that's part of the, I think, frustration, if I can say that, of what's been happening up to this point. But are you able to fill us in a little bit more, just so we can get a little bit of a clearer picture as to why that money has not funneled down to this point?
Yes. You see, there's so many layers, okay? As many layers as there is to your story, William, as far as the volleyball league and all the different people, okay? We don't want to think in terms of hierarchy. GPMS preaches that we're all equal. I 100% support that idea. But reality is that there are layers and layers and layers and layers of complexity, okay? So let's go to the ultimate abundance story, that there is no limit to the amount of value that we can put on gold and silver at any level, okay? No limit to the amount of value we can put on it. If we say there's only so much that Donald Trump got out of the Vatican tunnels or something, well then, if Donald Trump is truly here for humanity, put that value up there so that every human being on earth has their comfort, okay? There's a simple way of phrasing that. Is that not simple enough, you know, to say that it's the value of the gold then, right? But then let's go back a little bit and say there's all this gold, like there's way more than Donald Trump ever talks about or anybody else in that realm. And it's just sitting. It's not anywhere near the banking system, okay? It's just sitting. And there's treasures that are sitting in private hands. The example I use there is how Ferdinand Marcos, when the 50-year settlement was up after World War II, and he started to put funds into accounts, it was all in private names, okay? Not in government names. Governments being private as well, because they're all corporations, but private individuals' names, right? So there we have funds in private individuals' name. There is a transaction happened, right? That's what happened with us. There was funds moved off ledger into a paymaster account, and it moved. But then the layers of the control mechanism, the government, the central bank system said, oh, no, block that. So again, it goes from off ledger to on ledger, and then to a position that's called blocked. They just have that capability to do that, William. It's that simple. And this is what I mean by the layers. And to say that we can just switch that all overnight, just think of all the layers of people. And it's human beings that are making decisions like that, either because of their own profit and greed. You know, if I'm not going to make commission, I'm not letting that block to be lifted. Or the regulators and the, you know, that are involved. Well, you know, we better look into this a little bit more. This could be related to drug money. Well, what's drug money? That's CIA. That's all government anyway. So they got their little games that they'll play, these regulators, and every one of them is trying to just make a buck, right? So the multiple layers that we have to go through, and the knowledge and wisdom, and I'll say intelligence rather than wisdom, because the wisdom is that upper level where I'm saying, don't talk to me about limitations. You guys, I don't give a shit how high you are, how close you are to Donald Trump, Mr. QFS. I spoke to these guys at the QFS system last week. They ran away from me again. Why? Because I said to them, you mean you are dealing directly with Donald Trump and his white hat generals and everything, and you're still talking finance? You're still using those words, and that someone has to okay the transaction and that there's interest involved? Are you kidding me? No wonder it's called quantum financial system rather than quantum funding system, or as the GPMS says, monetary system. Monetary would be a hell of a lot better word. My own net energy yield, MONEY. But you know, like there's so many ways of looking at this, but to get that deep, and for me to communicate with not one, but two of the three quantum financial system experts and insiders that I talk to, and to hear the same story from them, really? You just want to have another mechanism of control at some upper level? Well, we can't do it without. Well, governance is the key then, okay? Oneness. If you're going to talk that way to me, then you start talking about the comfort of every single human being on earth. And then we can discuss releasing funds for projects after that, okay? Because then the projects may have some level of, okay, this one looks like it's good, that one, maybe we better hold off for a while. We can make some human decisions there. But until you say to me that this quantum financial system is going to look after the comfort of every single man, woman, and child of God on this planet, you're not going to get away from me. You're going to have to walk away from me. And that's what I've done in this banking system to the highest levels, okay? Barclays non-orthodox bank, they walked away from me. Non-orthodox, off-ledger banking. Do I keep coming back to him and saying, you want to join me now? Are you ready now? Are you ready to work for humanity? Because I'm still here. Or do you want to keep hiding? And this is the level that people don't comprehend. It takes years of knowledge and communication and network. I deal with hundreds of people, almost on a daily basis, hundreds of people. I wake up in the morning because I'm far west, right? In this model that we talk about as far as northeast, west, and south, northeast, west, and south news. But we have this structure that causes me to be on this side. Time-wise, my phone is full of messages from the night, okay? Full of messages. When I get up in the morning, in between my meditations, I try and squeeze in 20 minutes of just solid calmness meditation before I even open up much of my messages. Although I've been doing it all night long, I get up during the night, look at one, send a message back, and then I go back to sleep. Then in the morning, I wake up to these messages, do my 20 minutes of guided breathing meditation, a harsh Wim Hof 10 minutes, a thank you meditation for 10 minutes, an exercise meditation. In between all of that, till 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's just this, okay? Till my fingers are sore. Putting together documents. Honest to God, a lot of what we've done lately is assets that are sitting in private hands, not in the banking system, that are going to be brought into the banking system on ledger. How many times have I talked about that? And people hear the story, oh, well, I'm going to go back to Kim Gago and listen to her. She's got more cool stuff going on, or whoever, like I'm not going to change my story. And it's about abundance at that off-ledger plateau. And then if you go beyond the off-ledger plateau, the sheer abundance that's on this Mother Earth, either hidden away in treasures or thrown down into deeps in treasures, or still flowing through the veins of Mother Earth that's being created as we speak. Diamonds being pressed into diamonds right now, carbon being pressed into diamonds right now. That's still happening. Gold still being created by Mother Earth. All of that's still happening.
Yeah, I there's a lot there, Randall. But thank you for that, actually, because it certainly gave me, and I'm hoping it gives the viewers as well, more understanding, more clarity at just how much or how many levels and layers there are. It sounds to me like what I'm wondering is, are they is there just somebody that oversees this process that's basically making you go through all of these hoops as part of stalling you, if nothing else? Because I'm just thinking, we've heard it, we've heard it in many circles, from the different channels, the truthers supposedly, who, they have their propaganda too, but we have heard kind of a common theme in that we are in an information war where there seems to be, certain things going on the one side and then certain things going on the other side, but the general public doesn't know a lot of that because a lot of it's going on behind the scenes. So what I was thinking about was, if you're part of the good old boys club, I get the feeling you don't have to go through those layers and layers and layers and layers, or at least if you do, they open all the doors so you can just walk right through straight ahead. But in your situation, it sounds like they close the door every time. So you have to then open the door and you have to have the right key, and then you have to use the key, and then the key's not right. And then you have to exchange a key and you have to find the person that has the right key, and all that kind of stuff. So they're making you do all the bureaucratic paperwork as a way of slowing down the momentum of what you're trying to build. Do I have sort of an accurate picture there?
Oh, you betcha. And that's why I can't drop into the blame game. We've had in the last month and a half, 2 of our highest level trusted individuals that we trusted get to a point of saying, here it comes. It's in the account. And the one was that paymaster account that I spoke of.
Right.
And then they couldn't back it up. So am I here to blame those people? Even though one of those two has deflected and his intentions are completely different now. So fine, go away after, dealing with him for over a year, whatever, like I can't stop him. But the other one is just held up by, again, like you said, agreements and contracts most of the time. It's like a fellow I was talking to in Portugal this morning. Just an amazing man. We're talking about Templars, okay? So just in case somebody wants to say that we don't have a complex story, we're involved with Templars, all right? We're involved with the royal families and the bloodline families. If you go back to the Christ story, or Jesus Christ and Mary, you'll know what the Templars are about. Do they still exist? Yes. So there are benevolent groups of men, some women involved in that, the Rosicrucian or the Roses dynasty, I can't remember the words, but that's more the feminine side of it. But the Templars, that kind of stuff still exists. Those kind of beautiful Christian based stories from us who are Jewish, Jewish Christians, not Zionists that are using and hiding behind the whole Christian or the Jewish religion. I'll admit to being that Jesus Christ was a Jewish man, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the story behind his coming onto the earth, and then moving forward from there was the family story of him and Mary that got diverted. Oh, I'm kind of going all over the place, but okay, the guy in Portugal, that's where I was leading to, the talk about the Templars. And I talked to others that speak along those lines too. So are we Templars? Well, I'm moving into that zone. There's no doubt about it. I wouldn't have considered myself that a while ago, but I am. So what we were speaking about was how many ways that this second coming of Christ, okay, that's happening in thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people every day. The second coming is coming through them. This awakening to the consciousness of Jesus Christ and the family of Jesus Christ. That's what's happening. And it's just so beautiful to see that. All we have to do is stay on that path and remember what that pattern man told us. It's so simple. Love your enemies. Don't hate. Like, it's, the story of the passion of Christ, is it really true? Did he suffer on the cross? We don't know that for a fact. That could have been bullshit too. He could have been so kind that Pontius Pilate, after maybe they did hang him up there for a little while, but then after a day or two, rolled the stone back and said, "Get lost, go away. We see you're harmless. You're just a loving man, so just go away." That's what I believe happened. And I don't think the suffering was the way that it's depicted by our Lord of the movie screen, frickin', what's his name? The Passion of Christ guy. What's his name?
Oh, I forgot his name too.
Mel Gibson.
Oh, you were thinking Mel. Okay, I was thinking of the actor. Okay.
Yeah. And even the other guy, like he acted it out. Do those passionate stories get us anywhere? This is another one. Okay, I'm fired up, so I'm going to just keep going now. What the hell? So I'm down at the rally yesterday, and the passionate man, Art Pawlowski, or whatever his name is, the preacher, got arrested again last week. Well, his brother was up on stage, and he was pulling the passion out of people. Now, what was that doing? It was driving emotions, right? When we drive emotions, the temptation is there for us to want to fight something, right? I'm not saying Arthur Pawlowski is a what do they call it, troll that's trying to screw things up, or he's working with the cops or anything like that. No, he's a man who was drawn into that passionate story of Jesus Christ, that suffering, and now wants to bring that back into the public eye. It's not doing us any good. The story of love, the heartfelt love for humanity that Jesus Christ had, that Lady Diana had, that I work with, not her herself, but her family. That is the kind of heartfelt love where we need to go, and where these truckers are going, these children and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to drive that fear back into the minds of the masses. We got to go and save Arthur because he's in a cell and he hasn't been able to piss without the guard watching him for that. God, I couldn't hardly listen to that speech the guy was pumping over the loudspeaker at the thing. You know, like, I'm not running him down for it. Everybody has their role, but if we're going to take the story of Jesus Christ, take the story of love, take the story of family, take the story of heartfelt desire to help every human being, to give them their comfort, take those stories and run with them.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of put the brakes on, I think, too, because we're getting close to time. But at the same time, I wanted, well, we got a roll in there. We were both a little long-winded at times.
This is the way that I function with these people in the banking industry too. And do you think that I'm going to stop? Do you think they're not going to keep hearing that same level of emotion, if you want to call it that, from me? That desire to bring comfort to everyone and everything and every day on this planet, because abundance is the truth and lack and debt is a bunch of fucking bullshit. Yes, I'm going to keep bringing that. And it's just never going to stop. I will say that my job is secure. My job is here for you, and it'll never stop. And I am the abundant, healthy, sovereign, loving, harmonious, imaginative, co-creative man, co-creating abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria for all, as the sender, the receiver, and the one who shares. My God, we got to remember that word, share. The abundant energy, frequency, radiance, vibration, and currency of God with Mother Nature's precious treasure and resources, with love to the people for their comfort and for projects that are beneficial to all that do no harm. Peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on our minds. Abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Thank you, William. I love you, brother.
Thank you, Randall. Lots of love back at you.
Isn't too hard to see. It's nothing